Hello everyone, Vitaly is here. Over the last couple of years, the word fiduciary has almost become a household word. There have been multiple articles written about who a fiduciary is and what it entails. Yet, fiduciaries, especially of non-profit organizations, are often unaware of their fiduciary status and what the risks of this unawareness can lead to. In this video, I'm going to share a recent conversation with an executive director who has been inadvertently exposing herself to an unnecessary fiduciary risk. So without further delay, let's get started. The other day, I talked to an executive director of a small nonprofit organization here in Chicago that had accumulated about $1 million in liquid investable assets. The money is currently sitting in a savings account that has an interest rate of 0.01%. The executive director, who is deeply involved in carrying out the mission of her organization, wasn't sure what the best course of action would be in regard to this money. Moreover, as the economy started to slowly reopen, she and her team got extremely busy out in the field. As a result, she barely has time to take care of administrative and operational tasks, not to mention investments. Managing investment decisions isn't an easy task and requires time, resources, and knowledge. Since this executive director lacks investment knowledge and has limited time and resources, we come to $1 million question. Could she be potentially breaching fiduciary duty by putting off dealing with this matter? In order to answer this question, we first need to find out whether she is a fiduciary or not. An investment fiduciary is a person who is providing investment advice or managing the assets of another person and stands in the relationship of trust, confidence, and/or legal responsibility. Furthermore, investment fiduciaries can be divided into three groups: investment steward, investment advisor, and investment manager. Since this executive director is not in the business of providing investment advice or managing assets, we can safely exclude the last two groups from consideration. An investment steward, on the other hand, is a person who has the legal responsibilities for managing investment decisions. While this definition seems to hit the spot, it is still not clear whether the executive director has fiduciary status regarding this money under the law. In many cases, governing documents name a fiduciary directly, but in other cases, the fiduciary status may be determined by the job functions that individual performs. Investment stewards are entrusted to manage or assure the proper management of the assets of the beneficiaries that they serve. Because our executive director has been entrusted with these assets and exercises the ultimate discretion in decision making, which includes the discretion over how to invest the money upon the board approval, there is no doubt that she absolutely is a fiduciary. By the way, the same applies to members of the board, who are also considered investment stewards of the organization's assets, but I will leave this topic for the next time. As the fiduciary of her organization, she owes duty of care, loyalty, and obedience to the investors and beneficiaries. In addition to that, she must act knowledgeably and with diligence and prudence. Since our executive director has no investment expertise, making this decision on her own wouldn't be prudent. So what does she do then? The answer is simple. Delegate this responsibility to other professionals and subject matter experts who have the time, resources, and most importantly, the expertise in investing and managing assets. For example, she and the board could hire an investment advisor who would then create an investment policy statement that will specify the organization's goals, constraints, time horizon, and asset allocation structure, and potentially even invest the money in accordance with it. By doing so, the executive director would partially meet her fiduciary duty regarding managing investment decisions. I say partially because fiduciary responsibility can never be abdicated, and the executive director, as well as the board members, would still be responsible for overseeing and monitoring actions of the investment advisor. The main takeaway from this story is simple. If you are an executive director, a board member, a member of an investment committee, or act in a similar capacity and exercise discretion in decision making, then you are 100% a fiduciary, period. As such, you must follow a prudent process, is obligated to act in the best interests of the beneficiaries, and are being held accountable for your actions. Remember, ignorance isn't a viable defense. If you are not sure whether you are a fiduciary or not, and what exactly your fiduciary duties are, talk to a fiduciary expert who knows all the ins and outs of fiduciary processes. The fiduciary expert not only will educate you on this topic, but will help you to put fiduciary best practices in place. Alright, that's it for today. If you liked my video, please hit the like button down below, share it with your non-profit friends, and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have any questions for me or still not sure whether you're a fiduciary or not and what your responsibilities are, please feel free to reach out. Bye.